My people, una good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on your time zone and where you are hearing us from. This is Biafra Must Win channel. On this channel, we bring to your doorstep back to back on waiting they happen for Biafra land and all over the world. You will not believe what is happening now. My people, this is Chukwu Okike nọ n'ọrụ in this aspect because there is no other thing we can call it. God of Biafra is at work. He's doing what he knows how to do. Our leader, Oyende Mazi Nnamdi Kalu, told us that he will make sure that they will use their hand to conduct referendum for Biafrans. It is happening now. This is another prophecy coming to pass. UN ready to conduct referendum for Biafrans. Hear the news in detail. Please do well to like, share, comment, and subscribe. God bless you.
Ozi according to the Biafran activist Wotelia, and as he quote, "What if I told you that the UN, United Nations, is pro-Biafran activist? What if I told you that this people is sitting on the head of the freedom fighters? Umunem genunte na yabozi. If you're one of the Biafran activists with a lie, no bosse uruchinketa. Dikie gebi fekapalo kediatia ifo. Over to you, sir."
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is actually pro-Biafra. In a sense, yes, this particular leader of the United Nations is standing for the rights of indigenous people, of oppressed people, of marginalized people, of people and tribes around the world who are living in persecution.
It is clear that there is a growing deficit of trust between people and political establishments and rising threats to the social contract. Even where people are not protesting, they are hurting and want to be heard.
Throughout his stay as the UN Secretary General, he has been challenging European nations, Western world, and also American nations who have age-long been known to suppress indigenous people living in countries under oppression. And the reason why this story is very, very significant is because if there is a better time for referendum and self-determination conducted by the United Nations for Ndigbo and Biafra, it is now. Now is the right time. There is no more time to waste. It's not every time you get United Nations that is friendly. Sometimes you have United Nations that is doing the bidding of Western world, of America, and of course, many times you also have a UN that is even backed by Britain itself. I'm telling you. And when you have a UN that is being controlled by the West, it will take forever, in fact, impossible for Biafra to ever come via referendum conducted by the UN, which is very, very significant. Because many years ago, when Kofi Annan and co were the SG of the UN, you can see how everything was going, because then the Western world had control, full control of the UN. There was nothing anybody could do there without Britain signing it, USA signing it, France, Britain, France, Canada signing it. That was during the time of Kofi Annan. And remember, even during the Biafran War, United Nations was also controlled by the West, Britain, and co. That was why, no matter the amount of pressure from the world that they brought to United Nations against Nigeria that was attacking Biafra, against the oppression happening in Biafra land, the UN could not do anything about it, because it was backed by the British itself as at 1967 throughout the civil war in Nigeria. But right now, as I'm talking to you, the United Nations is being led by a man called Antonio Guterres. This man is a no-nonsense man. He himself grew up from the trenches and he understands the value of life and the pains of oppression. So I say it again, if there is a time for referendum, if there is a time for self-determination for Biafra, I am telling you before it becomes late or before the UN falls into the hands of pro-British people, the time is now. So whatever we are doing, it is time to start doing it. I'm calling upon all the groups that represent our interest to start pushing these files as you have always been doing. Start putting these files and putting pressure, because I will read out something for you now and you'll be shocked at the work Antonio Guterres has been doing for indigenous tribes around the world. Listen very carefully. Antonio Guterres, the SG of the United Nations, has consistently condemned the marginalization, discrimination, and dispossession experienced by indigenous communities around the world. He emphasized that the rights of indigenous people are non-negotiable, both individually and collectively. Also, he said, indigenous wisdom and stewardship of biodiversity are critical in addressing climate and sustainable crisis. He has called also for inclusion of indigenous peoples in decision-making, equitable finance, and meaningful participation in global policy reforms. He has marked events such as the UN Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues and International Day of Indigenous Peoples with strong messages urging member states and countries to end grievous inequalities and guarantee free, prior, and informed consent. So you see that there is a day marked out for indigenous people to celebrate and to encourage them. And this man called Guterres, the UN Secretary General, is putting pressure, enlightening people, mostly indigenous people, that there is a pathway for freedom for them. He's also telling countries that they should not oppress, suppress people in their countries. This man is open. He's a very open man and has been encouraging countries to seek self-determination through various ways. Let me tell you something. I've always maintained on this platform that the world is prepared for a new country. And Guterres himself is not a puppet for the West. He is not a British puppet. In fact, let me tell you, even as I'm speaking to you now, he is in their bad books. And they don't actually like him at all. Because he is doing the work for the world. He is not doing the bidding for the West. He is doing the bidding of the world itself. And if there's any time for Biafra to have their independence and their referendum, he is the one that will do it. Let's go on. Regarding independence movements or struggle for self-determination, he repeatedly underscores the UN's role in supporting the process of decolonization, affirming it remains a major pillar of UN's mission. Did you hear? When I told you that Guterres is open to decolonization and also for self-determination, I was not joking. Because the man himself hates oppression. And his regime is out to sanitize the world and free indigenous people and people who are oppressed in their various countries, like Biafra itself. And that is why I'm saying that the time for freedom is now. The time to push for self-determination and referendum is now. There is no other time, because the next UN president may not be somebody who is neutral. It may be somebody who is pro-British. Also, he has personally expressed deep connection to these issues of self-determination, citing Portuguese decolonization and the importance of listening to the aspirations of non-self-governing territories. So Guterres is deeply concerned about indigenous people, including Biafra. He advocates strongly for their rights, inclusions, and justice. He supports the rights of people of self-determination and backs decolonization and peaceful paths to independence, especially as enshrined in the UN Charter and principles. I'm very, very honest with you. I think the time for sleeping is over. We have dwelled too much with what is going on in Nigeria. It is time for us to also talk about what is going on outside Nigeria for the purpose of self-determination. Because anywhere around the world, any country you see that broke out from their parents' country did it under UN supervised referendum. And let me tell you, Biafra should be the next country in the world. That is why I do not support, I do not like this bickering, this little quarrel, misunderstanding going on within some of the pro-Biafra groups. This is not a time for that. To fighting for positions or fighting for who is bigger than who and who is this, who is that. This is the time to listen to what I'm saying and put your hands together. Join hands. Let's see how we can pressure the UN, who has a neutral Secretary General and has created all the departments, offices, and NGOs in the UN that are responsible for this referendum and self-determination, that we can simply go and pressure diplomatically on this issue and see it to the logical end, because you never can tell what the UN is looking for. You never can tell. But if you do not go, how will you get it? There are a lot of countries who are looking for independence also, and they are also in line in the UN there. And the UN goes through these files every day, determining the one that is of urgence. So if we are serious, we will keep on pressing. We will keep on pressing till we have a seat on the table of United Nations. As you can see, Palestine itself is not yet a country, but they have a seat in the UN. Though it's not a permanent seat, but they have a seat in the UN. They are there. They are there. So why can't Biafra have a seat in the UN? Why can't we by now have a seat in the UN? At least even if it's unofficial. Yes, unofficial, yes. But even if it is unofficial, no problem. But we can't just be empty-handed like that. We can't just be fighting ourselves here at home. It is not good that people should know us, Nibo, that we don't know how to, organize ourselves. We are always full of this, dragging. I don't like it. I don't like it, and we don't see the bigger picture. The leader of UN plays a very big role. If during the Biafra war, the UN was neutral, the Biafra war would not have lasted. But the person in charge was pro-British. That was why he could not do anything. So the best thing for us to do is to sit down and understand that there is lots of work to do. And that is why the government is trying to silence these voices. It is because they don't want you to know the right thing to do. Please, let's be guided by this and know that it is any time to get a referendum. It is now. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel.